I think it's safe to say we've all been criticized before for one reason or another. Maybe it was justified, maybe it wasn't. Either way, it probably stung deep down somewhere. That's normal, and not at all a bad sign. It means you care about the outcome of your actions, or your impact on others. That being said, there are healthy and unhealthy ways to engage with criticism. I've picked up various pieces of advice over time, so I'll compile them here for you. There are largely two forms of criticism that you'll hear. The first is criticism of an action. This would be something you did, made, or said. These are the most common because the first thing another person sees is your actions. It takes repeated interaction to be able to meaningfully offer the second form of criticism, which is about your character. The difference is often pretty small, but it's very clear when you look at the structure of any piece of criticism. Here's a couple of examples. You were being weird, and you are weird. These are similar, but they have a different focus. The first one is a criticism of a specific action or a specific context that is separate from the person's character overall. Someone was being weird at some point in time. The second one is deeper, and it covers the whole scope of a person's interactions. It's not that they were weird at any point, it's that they're weird in general. It's focused on their character, because it spans the entirety of their interactions and it covers any possible context. Most of the time, criticism is going to be this first type, the action criticisms. This is because a lot of real criticisms we get are going to be from people that don't really know us. They may say things in a way that feels like character judgments, but if they don't know you, then they can't really say anything conclusive about you as a person. This does change if a lot of your life is online, because then people see a much fuller picture of you than you probably think they do. But generally speaking, you do have to know somebody to offer the character judgments, the character criticisms. Dealing with action criticisms is the simplest, but it takes deliberate effort, and you can't just avoid it or immediately dismiss it if you want to actually deal with it. Step 1. Disconnect yourself from the criticism. If somebody has an issue with something you did or made, then that means it's a matter of choice on your end. You can either choose to act differently, or you can choose to not change if you don't feel the criticism is valid. How can you tell if it's valid? Great question. This is the difficult part. You have to think about what you want and what you want to do. When I was learning writing, somebody once said that one of my characters was a manic pixie dream girl. If you don't know, it's a trope where a character is superficially unstable or too good to be true despite any surface behaviors. Think crazy girl character with no downsides. I sat with that comment and asked myself, do I want this character to be a manic pixie dream girl? And the answer was no. I read through my work with this new perspective and concluded that yeah, I probably did write that trope without meaning to. So I rewrote that character and solved the issue. If I had decided that I actually did want a manic pixie dream girl character, then I would have just left it alone, because that's the outcome I wanted. This applies to more typical situations too. One time I got into an argument with someone I knew, and I basically dismissed him and messed around with him until he gave up and stopped talking to me. He called me juvenile and immature, but I didn't care, because I did not see any point in engaging in the argument he was trying to have. I made my choice, and so that criticism of my behavior didn't matter to me. I was deliberately being obnoxious, so having it pointed out was more like, well, yeah, glad you noticed. These anecdotes are meant to really emphasize that it highly depends on what you want. If you don't know what you want, or you're simply trying to be liked by everybody, then criticism is going to be much more difficult to handle. That internal compass is the actual key to dealing with criticism. Ask yourself what you want or what your end goal is. Once you have that end goal in mind, criticism like that stops being personal and starts to feel more like feedback on how well you're reaching your end goal. It will probably still sting, because I still feel it myself, but it will get better. Approaching it with the right mindset is more important than trying to erase the feelings it causes. The second half are the character criticisms. These are challenging because they're often personal, and they can only really mean anything when they come from people who know you, or people who know a whole lot about you. They're also more difficult because they tend to be formed after repeated observation of a pattern, so it's not always easy to get specific examples on what to change. If somebody calls me weird, it means they've seen me act weird enough times to conclude that I am weird in general. If I ask them what I'm doing wrong, they may have a hard time giving a concrete answer depending on how many different times I've been weird. Another added difficulty is that these types of criticisms tend to be more emotional, which just means that they aren't always perfectly explainable or consistent. This does kind of apply to action criticisms as well, but to a slightly lesser degree. Maybe I'm not actually that weird to one person, but to another I am that weird. This creates a contradiction where I'm weighing one friend's word against another. In either case, with either type of criticism, who do I believe when two people are telling me opposite things? It comes back to your internal compass and your ability to reflect on your own behavior. If I sit with it and really think about it, maybe I decide that I am a bit weird sometimes, but I'm not that bad at all. I can then pick a middle ground and dial back certain things to try and lessen the weirdness. If I don't see anything wrong, or I don't feel like I'm doing anything wrong, then maybe I decide to not make any changes at all. It's the same process as the other one, but it's more abstract in a sense. The hard part to accept is that you won't be able to make everybody happy no matter what you do. You have to know what kind of person you want to be and what kind of things you want to accomplish. And people who also value those things will be drawn to you in the process. It's kind of like a very selective magnetism. If you aren't hurting anybody, then all you can really do is be your authentic self and understand that being yourself means not everybody will like you. That's kind of the whole point. Being yourself filters out people you wouldn't get along with anyway, and it helps draw in people you do get along with. It's one of those interesting things about humanity that just kind of works out somehow. I suppose the simplest way to put it would be to say that criticism is just feedback that you can either use or ignore. If it doesn't help you be the person you want to be or achieve the things you want, then there's no need to listen, is there?